You can access the entire episode now on our website, forbiddenknowledge.news, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. But I also can take a step back and see how many people are still reliant on a savior, a political savior, a president, someone in power that's going to come along and fix all of our problems. You look at how many people are going to still be going out to vote for Team Orange Man or Team Sleeping Blunder this year. It's very concerning how many people are still of the belief that this system will serve them or humanity in any way. I checked out a long time ago of the political system. I have no hope for it whatsoever. That's just me. I would burn it down to the ground and start over. But how do you feel about the current political state and where we can go from here?
Well, it's pretty depressing. So, I mean, we'll start with that. It is very depressing. You know, as an entrepreneur and somebody who looks at marketing, and somebody's always been fascinated, like, how can I get, more customers? I have left so much money on the table because I won't get involved in this, this whole thing, because I just don't see, especially people get mad at me about the Trump thing. They're like, he's here, he's saving us. And I'm like, yeah, but did you not pay attention? I mean, I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. Like, literally, we've done this before. So I feel like I'm in a parallel dimension. Like, I went through 2020 and they didn't. And like, I mean, I'm like, so, but the mental gymnastics you have to go through to get there. And I just can't. And I don't think, like, just to boil it down for you, and I honestly believe this, and it doesn't come from political biases. No matter who wins in November, we lose. It doesn't really matter. Because you're given the illusion of choice. I don't think policy will change. If Trump didn't have the balls to get rid of his generals when they defied him in Syria so many times, how's he going to bring peace anywhere? I mean, I can give you many examples about the border wall, and talk about bringing the troops home, changing foreign policy, changing policy in general. But then we can just talk about warp speed. We can do all that stuff. There's military operations. I don't really, the whole politics thing. The two parties are controlled by the same donors. Right. When they pass something bipartisan, I mean, that's how right? It's like the empire goes on, the border stays open, and that gives them so much, things to play with, whether it's a rogue attack or whether it's something they planned, or the changing of demographics. I call it weapons of mass immigration. They got so many, but they both agree, because if they didn't agree, somebody'd stop it. So I just look at, I think the silver lining in all of this is that people are just tired. This is a Machiavellian trick to say, oh, you're free to choose. You can choose A or you can choose B. If you ask about the rest of the letters in the alphabet, we're going to call you an extremist. But if you can choose A or B, see, you're free to choose A or B. And then if you keep going, well, what about C? No, shut up. You shouldn't be asking about C. You're an extremist. And so that's the thing, is like, we need to have not just A and B, but everything. People should be free to choose who governs them or how they're governed. Or, again, just going back to first principle, like, you guys like democracy so much, well, then choke on it. I think you should have a bunch of choices. I think, I'm a fan of republics. I like representative government. I think we ought to, personally, I would advocate going back to the way we did the elections in the first 6 presidents we had. What was wrong with John Quincy Adams? He was great. He wasn't elected by the popular vote. Let's just go back to when the Congress, you know what? If you did that, it'd be a lot more important who your congressman was, and you'd pay attention, and there'd be a lot less grift. So, like, if we elected the president through Congress, which constitutionally, by the way, there'd be a lot more congressmen. They've really screwed with you on that thing. I ran for Congress. I know this. In the Constitution, you're supposed to have representation for every 32,000 people. Well, a congressional district's like 800,000. So you'd add a lot more congressmen and women, right? So you'd have all these people, and you can real time see how they vote on everything. I think it would change. We could somehow, because the elections, especially since the 17th Amendment, which is the direct election of senators from 1913. That's where you get the that's when the banksters stepped in and started electing your senators instead of your state legislature. A lot of, maybe you don't know that, but the senators were sent to Washington on behalf of the legislature, which made the legislature a lot more important, and they could recall them. You know, they like you could just the legislature, if you weren't serving them, like you would just get recalled. So the whole system worked from the ground up a lot better. And that's when the banksters like, hey, we can't rely on these legislators, too many moving parts. Let's just get them directly elected through us. So the whole system of direct elections and all this stuff and the money flowing in through it, I'm up for some change, right? I don't think we need a constitutional convention, but I do think that, because I think there's too much mischief to go. But I like policy-wise, it's never going to happen. This is a fantasy that I'm talking about. But I would give up the popular vote if I could, because there's just too much mischief, and it's too wide, and it doesn't work. And I do want more choice, but I think that happens on the local level. It happens through your state legislature. It happens through your county, your city. We saw that through COVID. It was very important for it to know who your mayor was, to know who your sheriff was. And I see, these states decentralizing, putting up bullion banks and making gold and silver legal tender. This is all good stuff that's happening. So no, I'm not black-pilled in the sense that, it's all over, get in the bunker, or anything like that. But we have some monumental challenges, but the elections aren't going to fix them the way that they are now.
Right.
Like you can't vote harder.
Well, let's talk about our financial situation, the looming crash that has been hanging over us like a dark thundercloud for years now, that seems to be being held off in very delicate ways, and the interest rates continue to climb higher than people can afford. How do you see this unfolding?
Well, it goes back to the phraseology of the Great Reset. Okay, to touch on that again, they call it a Great Reset for a reason, and this is a phrase that I was talking about before COVID. This is the World Economic Forum put out, and others. We've had an experiment since 1971. You have to understand, we're literally living inside a real-time experiment. It's never been really done before, not on this large of a scale, with trillions, maybe quadrillions in valuation. And that's when the United States went off the gold standard. Richard Nixon closed the gold window. A whole host of reasons why he did that. But gold was $35 an ounce since Franklin Roosevelt told the American people to turn in their gold. It went from $20 an ounce to $35 an ounce on purpose. And all that gold, most of it went to the Bank of International Settlements. You can go look at the history. It was illegal for you to own gold from 1933 to 1974. Gerald Ford made it legal for you to own gold. So this experiment, though, folks, this is what's crucial to watch. Fiat currencies, which means fiat means by decree. If you have a fiat currency, then the lifespan of that currency is generally 26 years. It has its apex, it goes into the circulation. There's an initial enrichment of things, like you have a lot of construction projects going on and build businesses, and there's lending and all this stuff. But what happens is the money supply continues to increase, which decreases the strength and purchasing power of that unit. And eventually people start to get out of the unit, money velocity slows down. By the way, I wouldn't consider myself totally qualified. I mean, I'm not an economist, but I just know history. This is what happens. So 26 years is the average lifespan. So we've doubled it. And we did it with the world's reserve currency. So all these central banks stocked with dollars, buying into the system. The petrodollar, we just lost that. It was 50 years in the making, and we didn't even do anything. We just lost it. Like the Saudis are not going to, they're using other currencies to denominate and sell the crude and all that. That's huge news. The petrodollar was a staple in the strength of the dollar itself. And you go back to years like 2001, 75% of all the transactions that went on financially around the world